If you remember wall running, rewinding time, and drinking all sorts of dirty water, then you grew up playing Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. But which one? Because there were 3 completely different versions, and in this 20th anniversary video we're going to compare each of them. But first, let's set the scene. In 2001, Ubisoft acquired the rights to the Prince of Persia IP. Now, the original game was a classic, but this wasn't exactly going to get the millennial kids hyped up. And so Ubisoft decided to create a contemporary action-adventure game with just a bit of that turn of the millennium edge. The result was 2003's Sands of Time. We start with the flagship version released for the PC, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. And was I the only one too stupid to realize this wasn't a cutscene? When I first got this game as a kid, I was just sitting there staring at the screen waiting for the prince to do something. Thankfully, the PC version actually tells you to move at the bottom. Anyway, the game starts with the prince's father just attacking some guy's castle on their way to India. As you do. The prince wants his daddy to be proud of him, so he joins in the pillaging. Don't worry guys, I'm coming to help. Ah shit. Now, as expected, this level acts as a tutorial for the game. You learn the main mechanics such as wall running, jumping, and combat. In the console version, the enemies melt into the floor after you defeat them. On PC, they just stay there. This game does have a dynamic camera, mostly. Some areas still have the forced perspective. I remember back in the day the controls and gameplay felt really fluid, but 2 decades later, they can take a little while to get used to. Let's just say there are a few instances where I accidentally jumped to my slow motion death. Look at this guard thinking, what an idiot. Luckily, the game soon introduces its big feature, the ability to rewind time with the Dagger of Time. And this is one of those ideas that seems like a no-brainer after the fact. Of course, it makes perfect sense to be able to rewind your platforming screw-ups. Now, the developers did realize that spamming the rewind button could take out some of the fun, so they limited the duration and the number of times you can do it, allowing you to increase your sand tank as you progress through the game. Alright, so the prince and his father's army absolutely decimate this poor guy's castle, and if that's not bad enough, they also take his daughter, Farah, prisoner as a gift for the Sultan. Now, it turns out the royal vizier has been the one manipulating the father into doing all this, and apparently this guy's name is Jafar. Like a Jafar from Aladdin? I mean, look, he's even got the cobra stick and everything. Where's Iago? Turns out Jafar wants the dagger so he can live forever. And after they arrive at the Sultan's palace, he tricks the prince into releasing the Sands of Time and turning everyone else into these zombie things. The prince then has to navigate through this giant zombie-filled castle to try and make it back to the Hourglass of Time and undo his big cock-up. And this is where the plot kind of takes a backseat to the gameplay. Now, playing this game growing up was a mix of frustration and elation from when you finally get past a section. Maybe I was just awful at it, but I screwed up a lot. Oh, no.
No. That didn't happen.
No, that's what happened, and it happened a lot. Having the prince narrate the story was a great touch from the developers. The way he almost sounds pissed off when you pause to adjust the volume settings.
Shall I go on?
Or sounding borderline offended that you would dare stop playing the game.
Do you wish me to leave before finishing my story?
Mate, I'd love to hear the rest of your story, but my mum's gonna kill me if I don't do my chores, and I don't have any magic sand. Another nice touch is that every time you reach a save point, the game shows you flashes of things to come. Ah, jeez, how am I gonna do all of that? Back then, of course, I was too stupid to realize these flashes actually give you clues to solve the puzzles. Oh, right in the buttocks. Yeah, that'll definitely turn you into sand. And even if you're terrible at it, the combat with all of its backflipping and somersaulting can be really satisfying. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about some of these puzzles, especially the one manned by this cockney 9th century Persian guy.
It'll take both of us to do it!
Was I the only one who was stuck here for ages back in the day? Ah, damn it! That's alright, baby, I've got the magic sand. God, Anakin must hate this game. Circle in the sand, round and round. Ah yes, dirty pond water never tasted so good. I like how every now and then the prince will just start complaining about girl troubles while he's in the midst of these death-defying acrobatics.
And here I am, risking my life for her again. And why?
Speaking of which, the vast majority of this game does involve the prince navigating through various parts of this empty castle filled with zombies, and doing it all alone would have made it just a little too jarring. The developers realized this and gave the prince a companion, Farah.
Give me the dagger.
Prince, her eyes are up here. Give him a break, he just saw his father turn to sand.
I saw my father turn to sand.
Well, maybe she can help me on this dangerous adventure. Come on, shoot it! What are you waiting for? Can't you see it's pecking me right in these sands of time?
I'll see if I can find a way down.
No, you won't. You're gonna get me to do all the work. Well, come on, there's nothing blocking your way. Why don't you go ahead and get destroyed by the booby traps for a change? No? Ah! Ow! Yes, finally, the end. Ah, shit.
Are you alright?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, I'm fine. I just got impaled by some spikes, but nothing major.
Alright, you can take the crack.
Excuse me, what?
My love.
Love? All you did was a few puzzles. Also, didn't his army kill your father and imprison you like yesterday? Now, the princess and Farah's exchanges throughout the game are a nice touch, even if it's mainly just them bickering and occasionally breaking the fourth wall.
This isn't that kind of game.
Game? She thinks this is a game.
Now, gameplay-wise, Farah sits somewhere between an assist character and an escort mission. She will shoot a few zombies with her bow every now and then, but most of the time she'll either just be standing there waiting for you to solve the big set-piece puzzles, or finding a shortcut through a crack while you end up being absolutely destroyed by a set of booby traps that would make Kevin McAllister proud.
Thanks.
But hey, at least Farah shows some gratitude, unlike the Queen from the Episode 1 game.
I need more room, Obi-Wan.
Before we go any further, a quick mention of the game's soundtrack. 99% of the time it consists of period-accurate sounding music. And then there was this one time where the composer got bored and put in a new metal instrumental. Ah, finally he's topless, as was promised on the cover. Anyway, the prince and Farah finally reach the Tower of Dawn.
Be careful!
Of what? Not everything is a trap, you know.
A few moments later.
Oh, this elevator section, this is another one of those that took me forever to get through back in the day. Eventually, they reach the hourglass, and the prince is about to use the dagger when Jafar turns up. He casts some spell, the prince and Farah are separated, the prince then goes down the tower using these stairs, which are as long as the ladder from Snake Eater. Eventually, him and Farah are reunited. They engage in some naked swimming, and live happily ever after. Oh wait, no, they don't. They get attacked by some monsters, the prince tries to save her, but Farah ends up falling to her death. Ah, that's a shame. So anyway, in his rage, the prince stabs the big hourglass with the dagger, and ends up rewinding time all the way to the start of the game. He visits Farah and tells her the entire story, and then gets attacked by Jafar. A quick battle ensues, which ends with the prince sending the old man flying out of the window. Oh, okay, round 2. He must be pissed. I bet he turns into that big red snake. What? That's it? Alright. And so the game ends with the prince using the dagger to do something an entire generation of us would wish we could do every time we messed up on a first date. And that's it for the flagship version, however there is also a Game Boy Advance port. Now this being a GBA game, it starts with some nice PowerPoint slides. There's no preamble this time around, the prince jumps a few columns, finds the dagger, stabs the hourglass, and we're off. He's off slashing these little birds, beetles that turn into smaller beetles, and these heads that shoot fireballs. Now this version does utilize the sands of time, but in addition to rewinding gameplay, it's also used to solve platforming puzzles and fight bosses, which mainly consist of these ancient beast things. This version is a bit of an homage to the original 2D Prince of Persia, with elements from the new game thrown in. I would say the most memorable thing about the Game Boy version is that you can actually play as Pharaoh, and and she's actually useful this time around, solving puzzles that the prince can't get to. Okay, and finally we have the Java mobile version, and this one is a pretty simple platformer. You run and jump around levels while trying to avoid your standard array of booby traps. As you progress, you learn new abilities while slashing guys with big hammers, bouncing back arrows, and fighting these bats who seem to bleed quite a lot for some reason. And so there we have it, every version of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. The console game is clearly a product of its time. The Matrix influences are evident with all the wall running, backflipping, and slow motion. But the game's stellar design and innovative gameplay have stood the test of time, no pun intended. And 20 years later, The Sands of Time has become one of the definitive 6th generation titles and a landmark action-adventure game. Plus, its wall running and ledge jumping based platforming would lay the groundwork for Ubisoft's other big franchise. It's just a shame the remake announced a few years ago seems to be in development hell. But please let me know your memories of The Sands of Time in the comments. This video was voted for by my Patreon supporters, so a big thanks to them, and if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow me on Twitter. See you next time.